Welcome. Jump into the Compassionate Leaders Circle podcast, where leading with love isn't just nice, it's genius. I'm Laurel Donnellan.
And I'm Daryl Brown. We'll unpack business strategies infused with empathy and action, driving both profit and purpose. Our world is ever-changing, so discover how the savvy leader wears compassion as their power suit.
I am so excited about having two business partners here today. One is actually a former business partner of mine, my dear friend Paul Lanzarotti, and he's here with Gabriel Sauma, who just joined him. And they have a company, and a fascinating company called FloorFix Pro. So welcome both of you to the Compassionate Leaders Circle podcast.
Thank you.
And they're both in London, which is kind of fun. So we're international today. So, Paul, I want to start with you to give us a little background. I think the creation story of your company is pretty cool. So tell us a little bit about how this company came about, and then we're going to shift into how you two became partners.
Yeah, so when I moved, I lived in the States 10 years, as you know, Laurel. When I moved back, I partially inherited a house from my parents and bought the rest of the house from my sisters, and we had this old house that I grew up in that needed a lot of work. And part of that work was in phases. And when the first part of the work was done, we had brand new floors installed, and about 3 months after, they started squeaking. And that squeaking became from an annoyance to just chronic, like the entire, just wherever you walked, it really big creaks. I remember being embarrassed when friends came round for dinner one evening and thinking, wow, this is really bad. Like I hadn't really noticed. But then we had my daughter, Sienna, my first of two, and she was a baby. She didn't used to, it was difficult to get her to sleep. And so it would take us about 45 minutes to get to sleep. And the floors kept waking her up. And that's where the story started. I was actually trying to raise capital for a streaming business at the time. I had all these projects on the go. And I wasn't sleeping, and nor was Tracy. And so I went online. I tried to find a way of fixing creaky floors. It turns out there isn't. There wasn't any way of doing it. I called a company to fix it, and they quoted me £4,500 a room. So there's no point in fixing something if you don't know why it's broken in the first place, because the floors were new. So I went down a rabbit hole of kind of chemical engineering, and it took a few months, but after a few failures and trying stuff, I had a formulation, I put it on the floors, and the squeaking went away. And that floor, the entire floor, is still silent to this day. So that's where it starts. What happened after that was that we had more work done, and it was over the time of COVID. And during that work, we had tiles installed that came loose. And then we had floors installed, but then gaps started forming. And each time I would go back to the Amazon, YouTube, Google and look for a solution. And either I'd find nothing, or what I found was not good, didn't work, was messy, hadn't been thought through. I would try it and just be like covered in glue and just, this is horrible. And because I had the wind in my sails from having created a product and I was selling it, in moderate numbers, kind of decided, well, let's have another go at this. And forward wind to today, FloorFix Pro make floor repair simple, affordable, and accessible to everyone. Whatever the problem is with your floor, whether you've got cracked grout in your bathroom, loose tiles in your kitchen, squeaky floors, gaps in your floors, whatever it is, rather than having to pay hundreds or thousands to a professional person to come and fix it, you can fix it yourself. It's a permanent fix. It's really simple. It's actually quite fun sometimes. And that room that I mentioned that was £4,500, you can fix that for about $20, the whole room.
And how long has it been since those creaky floors inspired you to create a product?
7 years. This month, actually, 7 years.
Yeah.
So it started around this time in 2018. Yeah, the tricky part about it is that you can't create a test environment. You can't make floors creak when you want them to. And you can't make tiles wobble when you want them to. So if you want to test products, the only way you can test is by making a product that's like close to what you think is needed, and then waiting for the feedback. It's not always good. you've got to be very thick-skinned.
Yeah. You've been very patient and loving and generous with your clients, and I know that they rely on you and you rely on them for all the feedback and the testing. And I do want to point out that Paul does not have a background in chemical engineering. So that's pretty that's pretty fun and interesting as well. So he's definitely a model of, if you put your mind to it, you can learn anything. I respect that. And and I've seen how hard you worked.
The floor is still not squeaking.
Yeah, it's a problem. We need.
So, Gabriel, how long have you been with the company?
Oh, officially just over 2 months now.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your background, because it's also not in chemical engineering. Tell us where you came from. And
it's very different from Paul's as well. I would classify as being more boring than Paul. My background is having studied economics. I went into the finance world in asset management on the research side. And then after a while, I actually left, opened up a chain of restaurants across Portugal and Brazil. And then after a while, 5, 6 years later, 6 restaurants later, came back to London, went back to asset management, which is what I've been doing again for the last 13 years. And then I came across Paul. And then that was a sort of a business marriage. Oh, I've got to put the business first. Made in heaven from my point of view. That's sort of like the bird's eye view of where I came from and how I ended up here.
I also have a background in hospitality and restaurants, so I admire that. I'm curious how the transition from that to banking was for you, because it's so different.
Well, the banking came first, but if you rewind a number of years back during the time I was actually at university or college, as they say in the US, I worked for a silver service company, a very big and famous one in the UK, and I was flown around the world hosting parties to the rich and famous, who I won't mention on this call, but your listeners will know pretty much all of them because they're musicians, actors, etc. Yeah. So I always had that link to serving the restaurant food industry, but I essentially graduated in economics and went to the finance world first. And to be fair, it never really stimulated in the same way as interacting with people, creating products as we do now. So it was always pulling me back, and it's always been pulling me back, even though I focus, 80% of my career to finance. And eventually, the North Star, the big magnet, pulled me back to, where I'd say I belong, which is the entrepreneurial world.
So, I think the story of how business partners meet, business soulmates meet, is not told very often, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to have the two of you on. So, did you meet through your children? Is that how you first met? So, talk to me about that. And Paul, I think I want you to tell the story of how you met and what you thought of Gabriel when you met him.
So, our daughters have been in daycare together since the age of 1. So we probably met inadvertently waiting outside the daycare to pick up our kids, and probably just sort of said hello. I knew Laura, her wife. I met her first. So I got to know her because she did drop off. You were usually at work. And then our kids went to school together. So they went from nursery to school, and they're best friends, Olivia and Sienna, like still to this day. They're now 7 years old. And then about a year and a half ago, we had to, so typically when there's like day events with the kids, the mums go, but there was a convention for kids TV. So if you imagine Bluey and Peppa Pig and all that kind of stuff, for a channel by the BBC called CBeebies, it was a convention, like a thing in central London, where they had all the people, like the characters dressed up, and you go and watch like a movie.
Like Comic-Con for kids.
Exactly. So Tracy couldn't make it. I had to go. And then Laura couldn't make it. So Gabby had to go. And then we ended up going down there together. So, we were, I think that was the first time. I think we'd had dinner before. No, we had dinner. That was the first time we met. And then we went to a restaurant after that, we said, oh, let's go and get some food. And we're in Leicester Square, right in the heart of London. And we went to an Italian restaurant and we were, laughing over how bad the food was. I was saying, this is the worst food I've ever had in my life. He was saying the same, we're like, it was just terrible. But we started talking and I was like, oh, what do you do? And he sort of mentioned it. What's weird, I have told you this story before, but like what's weird is that I came back from there and said to Tracy, I'm going to try and get Gabriel to join the business. She was like, what are you talking about? Like, she's like, no way. And I went, I think it's inevitable. And I just laughed. And I went, it's inevitable. And I have no idea why, but you know how because on paper, doesn't make any sense. Like it took us a year to negotiate the contract. It's difficult, right? Because we both have kids. There's a lot at stake where we're not like 20 somethings. Like there's a lot on the line. And the difficulty is, as Laurel, and you bring in a business partner, it's like you have to talk to a lot of people, right? You have to talk to your family. You have to talk to your other people, business people you trust. And everyone was going, this doesn't make any sense. Like, what are you doing? But a bit like Ringo Starr's not the best drummer. But if anyone else had played drums for the Beatles, they wouldn't have been as successful as they are because he's perfect for the Beatles. It's a bit like that. And what I was looking for, like up until that point, there's a few people I had in mind for this role. And each time, I'd float it past them, would talk about it. I'd run it, talk to Tracy about it and then come home and I'll be like, it's just not right. And it's not really, I wasn't really looking for skill sets. It's really a type of mindset or an approach to business and life and how you react to things. It's difficult, but I do think it's the same things that go into why relationships work.
Yeah. You have to spend a lot of time with this person, years and years, right? Gabriel, so what was happening for you during that year of negotiation? Like you had this big job and benefits.
It's coming from where I came from, it wasn't an easy decision, particularly as the breadwinner, the main breadwinner in my house. But looking at it from my perspective, and I'll skip the restaurant bit, and it was truly awful. And knowing Paul's from Italian heritage, so he's very much a foodie, and I came from having owned restaurants, and so yeah. Anyway, we don't have to dwell on it. It was terrible microwaved Italian food. For me, it was really interesting because, and Paul and I have never talked about any of this. Laura, my wife, had mentioned years ago, it's like, oh yeah, Paul's is giving up his career and he's getting in the floor business, like lubricants for floor. And I thought, oh, mental, like he's mad. But I just thought about it in passing, didn't think too much about it, and then we went to a restaurant. I learned more about what he was doing, and we actually did a treasure hunt at school.
Oh yeah.
I think it was for me, it was the treasure hunt that did it, because we were talking about all sorts of things. And the business was at a point that it was starting to pick up and do really well. And I could see there were two things that actually attracted me to start thinking about joining. One was Paul's energy, enthusiasm for it. I think that was the key for me. As you said, you're going to end up spending most of your life with a person that you're going to be working with like 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And I could really see myself spending time with Paul in that sense. So it's almost like it's like a relationship. It's like a marriage. So enthusiasm checked, curiosity checked. Paul is a mad scientist as well, which is completely necessary. That creativity, the creative side, is completely necessary as part of that combination, the relationship. I come from a finance background. I'm very sort of organized, mathematically focused. You can't have two of me because you'd probably fall asleep or you wouldn't create. We couldn't create too much. And so that combination attracted me. And then I could also see that on Paul's side, because of that creativity and the mad scientist sort of aura that he had, and the fact that the business was growing, he was juggling about 100 different balls. And I was like, oh my God, this is not going to work. And I went home that night and I said to myself, he needs my help and I need him. And that's when I sort of made up my mind. As other than the product, whether you're selling a knife or a shoelace, for me, it was always about creating something interesting, a product that people want. The product itself wasn't that important, but the fact that it's something actually that flies under the radar, and every house on the planet needs our product at some point in its lifetime. That was all attractive. I mean, I could go on and on for hours and hours, but those were some of the key things that attracted me to the business.
I do love the mad scientist analogy from Paul. I hope he does too, but I've experienced that myself working with him. And I felt like he came into my life when I really needed him and gave my company and me a lot of energy when I was out of energy. So you're in for a treat. And I'm excited about the two of you working together. So tell me about what's going on with the business now. How, you're 7 years in. What's happening with growth and products, and tell me all.
I guess going back, this is the first time I've had a business all to myself, right? So for 7 years, and it's the first time I've been able to call all the shots without having discussed it with anyone, right? And so at the beginning, I decided to do everything differently. I think you have to understand what went on before to understand. I think like partly why this business is a success. Prior to this, I'd worked on this streaming business that I mentioned earlier. I probably created close to like 600 decks, convoluted business cases in Excel. And it was because I thought it was a brilliant idea, and I still do, right? But I wasn't ever going to get this thing funded without money, or get it going without money. Sorry, and it was a chicken and egg, right? To raise money, they wanted to see a demo. To get a demo, you needed money, and I just kept going round in circles because I put so much work into this project. When I started this, which there was no big plan, right? I was just, I said, if I'm going to do this, I'm not going to do any of that. I'm going to do exactly, I'm not going to bring in investors. So I was actually offered money by quite a well-known person in the States who's well-known, lots of money at the beginning. And I sort of turned it, I was like, yes. And then I thought about it and said, no, just give me more time, because I didn't want to go down the same route I'd always gone down. I wanted just to see what happens when I just do it my way. And I stopped leaning into the things I'm not good at and started leaning into the things I am and really just running. And the plan, what has always been, I need a partner, and I need a partner with a finance background, but I'm only going to need that partner if this business is successful. There's no point in wasting energy and time trying to find that person if there isn't a problem to solve. And the problem is only there to solve when your checks are big, when you're writing big checks to suppliers and you've got lots of shipments happening that are worth hundreds of thousands, if millions in value. Then you need to start worrying, because if you start getting things wrong, if you start dropping the ball, then the implications are much bigger. So I didn't worry about that. And yes, things went wrong in the early days, but it's like things are going to go wrong. So about a year ago, the business got to a size where the checks were getting bigger and the shipments were getting bigger and more products. I think we now have 15 products. We're probably going to have 20 by the end of this next year. And we're getting in more and more into wholesale. We're growing on Amazon. The business is getting into more and more countries, and the reaction from customers is getting better. So I needed someone about a year ago, but it took a year to get Gabby out of where he was, get him out of the business he was in, and it takes time. And so now, I mean, his arrival is about 6 months later than it. So the last 6 months have been hard, really hard, because I've been working like flat out, like just go. And what was happening in the last 6 months is the growth of the business flatlined a bit, because all I was doing was putting out fires every day, and then I was out of time. And so I wasn't creating anything really. I mean, I was chipping away at things, but I couldn't move things forward because I just needed help. And where we are today is, obviously, there's a lot to learn for Gabriel. Advertising, Amazon, eBay, Shopify. There's just accessing these platforms and understanding how to use them is a sharp learning curve. But the difference that just having someone has made, we can see it immediately. We can see the revenues have already this quickly have already gone up like in
After
Amazon.
2 months, that's amazing.
So that's where we are now. The company is growing month on month. We're up, I think, nearly 100, more than that, 100% last year,
Yeah.
200%.
Yeah.
The growth is really, it's only limited by our ability to organize and hire people to take, we need you, Laurel, to come in and help us with something.
I'd love to come. I'm looking for a work visa.
Yeah.
I'm happy to come anytime.
But yeah, it's finding the right people to
Yeah.
fill in, to take the workload off, so that then we can start actually working on strategy and that kind of
Yeah.
stuff.
That's amazing. So what does a typical day look like, or typical week look like for the two of you? I'm curious, like, what's the inside, like, what happens? You drop the kids off at school, and then what happens?
I mean, it must be quite different for Gabriel, because I usually have 8 things going on simultaneously. I multitask all day, every day, and I've got things going on, and if I'm waiting on that, then I'm moving to that. So it must be maddening for him. But a typical day would be,
Well, for a start, the day before I joined, I asked Paul to get that on the wall, the whiteboard, so we can start getting organized and checking out.
Because it was in his head and in his body and not written down.
Keeping track of what we need to do, what are the priorities, what do we need to achieve by the end of the day. So,
well, but I'll show you what we've been doing today, right? So today let's talk about what we're doing this week. So today we've been dealing with some shipments from Turkey and from China and trying to get some rates. We've been talking to suppliers in Holland. We've been designing new product packaging for our new range. And we've been preparing today with our ad agency for a shoot tomorrow. So a friend of Gabriel's is a film director, and he's flying over from Greece for 2 days to shoot video for us, for the website, for Meta, for Google Ads. So we've spent some time doing that, but every day is very, very different. And the interesting conversation I had yesterday with a friend who's an AI consultant. He's saying, come on, let me help you. Let's bring some AI to help you. He's like, just tell me what your most repetitive, boring job is. And I'm going, I literally don't do anything that's boring and repetitive.
no.
Ever. It's changing all the time. It's fluid. It's like you have to be good at lots of you have to be competent at lots and lots and lots of things. You don't have to be the best at anything, but you need to be able to turn your hand to anything. It's like a Swiss Army knife of a day.
And I think that's what the attractive part of the job is. And that's what pulled me back when I had the chain of restaurants. I was designing menus, tasting food, working with architects, dealing with the bank. I mean, it was just the accountants. It was like every day was like it is today. It might have been now we deal with adhesives. Before I dealt with food. It's the same thing. It's the ability to multitask and be able to focus and prioritize. And that's our day. Every day is different.
I'm excited about your future and what you're going to create together. It must be a huge change for you, Gabriel. I don't know. Are you seeing differences in the way you feel and the way you're sleeping? What's happening over there as you're jumping on this magic carpet ride?
It's hard to describe. I sleep like a baby.
Good.
Even though it's a 7-day-a-week job now, it doesn't feel like work. And I think that's the key. That's the key to success. That's the key to having a successful business is enjoy. And having a successful career is enjoy what you do to the point that it doesn't feel like work. So the change is black and white. Before I had to commute every day, get up at 6, get ready, leave, suit up when we needed to be, get on the the tube, which is the metro here, 45 minutes to get to work, get to the office, sit at a desk all day, and then, do your work and then come back home 7 p.m. and repeat the next day. And there was a monotonous feel to everything, even though there were different issues every day. It's your job is more boxed in when you work in the corporate world, at least not in the finance world. So yeah, literally black and white. But for me, as I said, it doesn't feel like a job again. And I feel like my wings have grown out again, and I can fly and do what I do best.
I didn't pay him to say that.
Well, I'm thinking here that I've just invested 27 years of my life helping people find work that they love. So it makes me smile, and it brought a tear to my eye, your story. So it's a great testament to it's not that having a job or being an entrepreneur or doing what you love. I mean, it's all hard, right? It's not like one is easier than the other. Like working for someone you don't respect is hard. Doing work that may not be your jam is hard, but entrepreneurship is hard too. Like and I think some people think like, if I choose what I love, it'll be easy. No, don't choose what you love if you want something to be easy. Challenge is also very rewarding, right? So
I do find, I mean, I've had it's financially been very difficult, right, for the last 6 years because I have 2 kids and massive mortgage. I take that every day over sitting in an office working for a company, because I did that for years, and that to me is the boogeyman. It's like, I can't tell you, like I had my epiphany in 2000 and probably 5, when I kind of walked away from the corporate world and said, right, that's I'm not going to take another job like that. But yeah, for me, I agree with you. It is hard, but it isn't. So it's a lot
hard.
easier.
But it's worth it, I think.
Yeah. But
we're still standing, Paul. We've been through a lot.
yes, yeah, but it is, right? Like, if you're enjoying what you're doing, it like just put, it's hard, but it's not as hard as sitting in a corporate job you hate. There's nothing more tiring than commuting, into like London Underground, into a job in the rain that you hate. It's just there's nothing like it.
I'll add something else. There's this misconception that being an employee in a big corporation is considered less risky than being an entrepreneur. They both have their risks, but it isn't necessary. You could lose your job tomorrow. So there's this misconception that, oh, I can't take the risk. I've got this job security. I've got my job. I know what I'm doing. But the reality is, in a company with 5,000 employees, if their sales drop 20% and they have to cut their workforce, because otherwise you'll have 5,000 people out of work rather than 100 people. Your job could be gone tomorrow. And then you would have wasted 20, 30 years thinking that your job's secure, but it's not really. And in the same way, being an entrepreneur, at least you have more control of your options, and your success is linked directly.
I think that's very true. I think there's, and certainly in the States right now, we are experiencing government jobs not being secure, right? So all these myths are getting blown to bits. Mm-hmm. Our world economy changes rapidly. Technology is changing everything rapidly. If you can work on being secure in yourself, you can ride through change, whether you're working for someone else or working for yourself. But yeah, it's sort of this big story, this big myth and the other reality, there's data that backs this up, is, I imagine it's been very hard for you in the last 6 years, Paul, but you own something that's very valuable, right? So I think if you look at salary sometimes of an entrepreneur, it may not make sense, but you have to look at the balance sheet and what you're creating and what's valuable and what you've invested in. Because you can invest, we also have this thing, like you can invest in other people's companies, right? You could have a big stock portfolio, but I would bet on you too, for sure. So as we're wrapping up here, I'd love to hear from each of you a life lesson you'd like to share with listeners, and a leadership or work lesson you'd like to share. I think you've already given us a lot of wisdom, but what would you like to share around lessons learned so far?
I have a lesson that I learned back in the 90s from a boss who, ironically, I met with 2 years ago and reminded that he had said this to me. He had forgotten that he had told me, and he wasn't actually living by what he had told me. But I had taken it and I'd run with it my entire life. And it was a life-changing bit of advice, which was take responsibility for everything that happens to you, which recently found out is stoicism. But well, I didn't know it was called that, right? But
It's very on trend now. So you're very cool.
I've been doing 98. And what I mean, I take that to like the extreme degree. So I have had terrible things that have happened to me in my life, or, everyone has, and had, good things. But I attribute all of them to bad decisions and good decisions I've made. And the reason I do that is because it gives me peace, because I feel like I'm in control. If I felt that life was happening to me and I didn't take responsibility for everything, whatever it is, then I would feel hard done by. I'd start blaming people. It's distracting. But if you own everything that happens to you, including if you cross the road and you get run over, the risks. Yeah, you know the risk when you cross the road, so you can't. You know those risks, right? You know of people that have been run over. You've heard about people being run over. If you get run over, it's unfortunate, but you decided to cross the road. So I take it to an extreme, and I've found that by doing that, it's helped me in two ways. In number one, when things go wrong, I don't dwell on them. I just move forward. I don't, I kind of own it and I try and learn from it. And two, I don't hold on to any resentment. And so you need to, things will go wrong, products will fail, customers will write horrible things about you, and honestly, you can wake up to bad reviews and people just saying awful things about you. I mean, Amazon is the Twitter of e-commerce, but you have an opportunity to change it, and that's what drives the innovation in our products. I'm obsessed with going, okay, I hear you, let me try and make that better, let me try and fix whatever you're moaning about, let me try and fix the fact you haven't read the instructions, whatever it is, right? I own it and I run with it.
Beautiful. Gabriel, what lesson do you have for us?
From a leadership point of view, and I've had teams reporting into me, if you want to get the most out of your team, you've got to treat others how you want them to treat you. Beating your employees into submission, you might get what you want out of them in a short period of time, but if you treat them with respect that you want to be treated, they will go the extra mile for you, and you're going to build a much stronger relationship and team by doing so. That's worked for me over my entire life, and it's been trial and error to get to where I am from that point of view. But it's something that probably I'd swear by that if you're a leader of a team, of a business. The other life lesson, again, trial and error, and I'm sure I've had bosses that have punched this into me as well, is just get organized. If you're organized, you're going to be a better version of yourself, whatever industry you work in. The number of times that I've heard people say, I don't have time for this, I don't have time for myself. And time is the most valuable sort of thing that you have. You always have 5 minutes. There's always going to be 5 minutes that you can put to whatever use you want, as long as you're organized. So yeah, those are the two things that I'll probably share with the audience.
Lovely. I need the organization part today. So thank you. So what is next for the company? Where are you at? We talked about where you're at. So what's the dream? What's happening next?
I think the dream is really for us to expand into America, because we have a lot of customers in America, and we're getting organized now. So we have warehouse in Indiana, and we are now starting to work with a partner in Minnesota, which means I might be visiting the States soon, Laurel. When I was a kid, my sister asked me when I was about 13, what did I want to do with my life or job or something? And I said to her, you know what? I think I want to fix toys. And was when I look back now, and I remember having that conversation with them, going, I know it sounds weird, and I don't even know if there's a job like that, but I want to fix toys. And that's because I was obsessed with fixing things when I was a kid, and always have been my whole life. And there's nothing wrong in my house. Everything works. Which, my wife has to be careful about what she tells me is broken, because I'm onto it like straight away. I'm obsessed with fixing things. And it's taken me a few years to figure out that it was probably inevitable that I'd end up doing this. So for me, the business, I see it as we're helping people. We're saving people money. So we're saving individuals thousands. We're saving contractors who have 500 houses that are creaking millions, right? And for me, it's more about making everyone aware that we exist and that there is an alternative to what's there at the moment. Because what's on there at the moment genuinely is dangerous. Like, there are some really dangerous hacks that are being propagated through, YouTube and whatever, which you really shouldn't do. You shouldn't put WD-40 all over your children's floors, because it's flammable. It's like aviation fuel. And likewise, there are companies that are charging exorbitant amounts to customers that really can't afford it, because we speak to those customers. So my motivation for the next 3 years is I'd like to be in America, not because money is obviously nice, but it's more about reaching people who've got these problems and going, look, there's a solution. You can do it yourself, and it's cheap and affordable and easy, rather than, having to deal with the nightmare. Because you got to remember, right, that as a business, the alternative to what we offer is you have to pull up your floors. You have to move all your furniture out. You have to pull all your floors up, and then you have to relay them. And it's really disruptive and out of reach for most people. I think from an ambition, it's to scale and reach people. And with that, the money will come, and with that, success will come. And that's all good. I also hope that we have a team.
So the next time I'm talking to you, it's not the two of you in your lovely office that's behind your house.
We do have a team. We have there's lots of people involved with this business. We have virtual teams all over the world that are working with us, for us. But we need more. We need more people to be working with us, so that we can go on holiday.
So if people want to work for you or buy your product, how do they get in touch with you?
Yeah, you go to floorfixpro.com. The products are there. You can reach out to us. We answer the phone. We talk to customers all the time. We offer free advice. That's the best way. Just go to the chat section, reach out. It will get to one of us. As part of what we do, we talk to customers every day, all day, offer free advice, which products to use, how to fix problems. We get videos sent to us. I have a library of hundreds of squeaky floors videos. That's the easiest way to get hold of us.
And we love talking to customers. That's where the best ideas come from. That's how you achieve a better product than what's out there. So yeah, call us.
That's a very rare thing. So I applaud all that you're doing. I wish you the best, and I'm excited to keep in touch with the story and how it unfolds. Have a great evening.
Great. Thanks, Laura.
Have a nice day. Thanks, Laura.
And that's a heart-wrapped episode of the Compassionate Leader Circle podcast. May your compass always point to kindness.
As you navigate the world, let compassion be your North Star. Join us next time as we continue to redefine success, one heart-led decision at a time.
Lead wisely, lead with heart. You can learn more about us at compassionateleadercircle.com.